Okay. Wow. That might be the most ever DTCs I've seen in a car. Does sound like it has a vacuum leak. Oh, that might be the secondary air pump. Check out that hot boy radio. All right, finally had time to get this pig up in the air. The jack points and rocker panels are pretty much just gone. So that's inspiring. Confidence. The rear left wheel bearing feels really bad. So I'm gonna have to do something about that. Drive shaft, I'm not sure. I'll have to pull some of the heat shielding down and take a look. Bearing on the right side looks okay. Of course, it's an E39, so it needs brake lines. But yeah, other than, you know, just brake lines and a single wheel bearing back here, and on E39s, they're actually kind of cool. They bolt in, so I'm not actually too angry about that. These are pretty easy to do. Of course, the jack point is gone on this side too, but for a $400 car, who really cares? Everything looks okay in the front right suspension. Thrust arm is very worn. Engine, transmission seems pretty leaky. It needs a trans service for sure. I sold this car to these folks in really nice condition like 6 or 7 years ago. It needed a transmission service then, and it still very much needs one. I do believe a lot of this fluid is from the power steering system, but I'll probably throw an oil filter housing gasket in it too. This engine was a very low mile, nice like 05, 325 CI engine, and it looks like it's still in pretty great shape overall. Another fun thing I found though, while checking the front left suspension, there's no end link apparently, but there is one here. And if you look forward, there is one, and it's actually in decent shape too. Well, at least it was at one point. The ball joints are still nice and stiff. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but I'm guessing the nut fell off or something, and it just worked its way down onto the thrust arm, which is of course in pretty bad condition on this side as well. But yeah, just kind of making a bill of materials for what to do. I don't even know if the AC system works. Nor do I know what hose is leaking on that power steering pump. I'm not sure if I care to investigate. Just top it up and hope for the best. It honestly looks like it's just the feed hose, or maybe the return. It might not even be that big of a deal to fix it, but clearly it's been leaking for a long time. Rack boots shot. Oh, okay. Yeah, it needs an inner tie rod pretty bad on that side, but just on that side, so I'll have to get one of those ordered. This poor car, man, it was not well looked after I sold it. But still, it should make a decent beater for somebody. It does have brand new Continental All Seasons on it, which whoopee. And I've had the Sharp Ionic, or no, what was it? The Sharper Image Ionic Breeze ionizer I've had in there for over a month at this point. Just trying to get the smoke smell out of it. So we're making some progress, but like I said, just kind of a bill of materials first, and then we'll get hammering on it. Doesn't make sense to throw it away. It's not that far gone, but its glory days are certainly over. Well, I finally have something to work on that's worth filming. So the 2002 525i Ultra Beater, this $400 rust bucket that used to be a nice car. Last time it was in here, found out that the rear left wheel bearing is really bad. Like scary, scary bad. So I took the car off the lift just so I could work on Dr. Wags, my mother's F31 328D M Sport. But it's time to throw this thing back on the lift and change out that bearing to see if that's where most of the vibration and just general shaking is coming from. If it isn't that, I think this car will also need a drive shaft, but nevertheless, making progress. So let's get it up in the air and throw this thing in. It was actually really, really tough to find a company that was selling just the hub and bearing. When you buy a bearing to do on one of these E39s, all you're getting is this component here. So from here back, the hub is separate and you have to press it in. However, there's no sense in that when you buy a used one, because somebody's already done the effort of pressing in the hub. So this is a factory original. This is actually off of an 04 530i. The E60 and the E39 are pretty much identical in the rear. So I'm hopeful that this will work and fit. It should. Bearing feels pretty nice, but yeah, 04 530i auto. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. That wheel was very content with its home, and I can see why. Oh my goodness, this thing needs brakes. This is one of the most disgusting rotors I have ever seen. I'm gonna start hitting this with penetrating oil right now because I'm really worried looking at it. Wow, yeah, that's the brakes are dangerously bad, so I'm probably just gonna pad slap this thing because I don't really care, but look how grooved that rotor is. Well, no, I think I have to buy discs. I don't think that's safe. Anyway, I hit this with PB. I soaked it through all the holes. It needs rear brake soft lines like every E39 does. But look at the plus side. The springs aren't broken. Really, really uncommon. Wish I could see how worn the front brakes were. Maybe if I dig out the flashlight. Nope. I don't think we're gonna get there. Nope. No idea. Maybe I'll just order pads for those two. Anyway, where do you draw the line with a $400 car? Like, this thing shouldn't take too much to become a reliable-ish daily for somebody that's in desperate need of a car. That's kind of where I'm coming at with it. Obviously, it makes more sense to part it out because it's got like really clean LCI headlights and taillights. It's got black sport seats. It's got an M Sport steering wheel. So I'm not sure what the future holds, but I kind of like working on stuff, especially when I'm at such a stopping point, or I guess a snag with the Megasquirt on the IS. Like, I'm still waiting for Classic Daily to give me all my parts back for the K series and the 1600. I don't have the subframe for the N52 and Brexit, so you know, what do I do? Well, so far, this thing definitely has other plans. We'll see. I'm gonna try the map gas torch, see if I can get it cherry red and get it off with the impact, but the actual nut is starting to round a little bit too, so. Oof. Oh, all right, we're back at her, boys. I have so far had to grind the ever-living daylights out of this thing, and with the use of my impact chisel and heat, I've been able to get this thing to spin. So I was able to split the nut. And the hub obviously will be replaced, so I don't really care about that. The disc, I'll probably get new ones too, since those are so screwed, but what a huge pain. I'm not even sure if that stub axle will move yet. We'll have to see. Back at it again today, boys. I am kind of making it my mission today to either break this thing or fix it. I'm kind of sick of the wishy-washy, well, it didn't really get progress either way. I've been filming short clips on this thing for 3 months at this point, and I'd really like to either establish the fact that it's going to get parted out or replace that rear hub and see if it's roadworthy. I really would like to get this thing running and driving again so I can sell it off to somebody else who's going to get some use out of it instead of parting it out. Obviously, it's an LCI, so it has some desirable parts like front rear bumpers, headlights, taillights, black sport interior. That's all pretty desirable stuff. So if I had to part it out, I would be obviously just fine. But this thing has enough life left in it, especially with that nice, clean, low mileage M54, that I think it's probably worth doing the work to. So anyway, I'm going to get it back up in the air enough to take that rear wheel off. I'm going to take the brake caliper and rotor off, and I'm going to try to use a puller to get the axle shaft out instead of pulling the hub out. I'm hopeful that that will work. If not, I'm just going to start wailing on it with my hammer and the air chisel, and we'll see. Wow, that sucked. But with a combination of the puller and some hammering, I got it out. So yeah, this bearing is, I should put this in the vise so I can show you. Pretty toast. All right, the E60 hub is more or less in. I just got to get the half shaft out. And since I had to notch this one, being a parts hoarder kind of pays off. Should be, oops, sorry. Framing. Yep, all good. Get that snug down. Throw the really nasty disc and stuff back on just to see if that's where the cause of the shake was from. And then we'll go from there. All right, throw the wheel on, take it for a short test drive. Okay. I don't understand, but there's no check engine light and the stability control works with the MAF disconnected. It's like these things really just don't care. Forgot I didn't pump the brakes on the rear end. Oh, I didn't even think about this. There we go, there's brake pressure. Okay, that's decent. Let's get it out onto the main road. Oh, the tie rod's bad. Ah, that window was open. I'm like, this is a little on the loud side. Okay. Yep, it was just a wheel bearing. Clean off the brake discs a little bit. Thing is smoking a little bit out the tailpipe, it looks like, but I don't know if that's just cold weather or the fact that it's been started up just for brief moments over and over again. Anyway, I'm gonna finish my little loop here. And then I guess it's worth doing all the other little things I had planned. This is actually a pretty okay driving car right now, considering how much play is in that left front tie rod, which is terrifying. But yeah, it's not bad. Doesn't even smell like cigarettes anymore thanks to that ionizer. It smells a little bit like ozone. She still idles a little rough. Okay, I'm gonna start checking with some easy stuff. First one, I'm gonna unhook the MAF and clean it because it's currently disconnected. And I think that is a problem for the automatic transmission and how it's shifting. Next up, I'm going to pull the coils and the plugs and probably replace them unless it looks like they've been done recently. But I think that's probably where most of the miss is coming from. So I do have speculation that the dipstick tube drain is clogged. I don't know if I'm going to deal with that, but anyway, I'll start with these two things. All right, first things first, the easy stuff. May not be pretty because it's from that car that got lit on fire, but it's better. Well, I can say pretty conclusively I was the last person to do plugs on this, and it needs them again. The gap is just chasmic. And I think these were platinums and they've done like 80,000 miles, so it's time. But at least they're the single prong NGKs. That's the good stuff. All right. New versus old. I'm gonna gap these down just a hair and throw them in. Okay, plugs done, MAF cleaned. I'll throw this away real quick and we'll start it up. Okay. That's a first. It's gonna have to relearn how to run now. Might have to take it for another drive. It's definitely running better. I would still like to clear the adaptations potentially, but it's also still upshifting way too quickly. I'm not sure why.